Recording in progress.
And not coming? Okay, thank you.
Three, two, one. It is 6:04, and I'm calling the meeting of the Design Review and Historic Preservation Committee in session. Can we please have a roll call?
Yep. Commissioner Cormany,
Present.
Commissioner Randolph,
Present.
Vice Chair Johnson,
Here.
and Chair Marr.
Here.
Thank you.
May we now have comments from the public? Are there comments?
There is no one on Zoom. Would you like to speak? Oh.
Items not on the agenda.
Thank you. We'll hear from you in a moment. In this case, let's review and accept the agenda, please. May I have a motion to approve?
I approve we accept the agenda as submitted.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yep. Commissioner Cormany,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Vice Chair Johnson,
Aye.
and Chair Marr.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Is there any late correspondence?
No late correspondence was received.
Thank you. We'll go to the consent calendar. We have the minutes from the regular Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission meeting on September 13th. And now we can move on to the public hearing. Our first,
I'd like to move that we approve the consent calendar as submitted.
Second.
roll call, please.
Commissioner Cormany,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Vice Chair Johnson,
Aye.
and Chair Marr.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the public hearing. Our first item is 6.1. We are to discuss, consider, and take possible action to approve a landscape plan application of Salvador Garcia for 673 square feet of new landscaping at 380 First Street West, pursuant to section 15304 of the CEQA guidelines. New landscaping is categorically exempt from the provisions of CEQA. I'd like to ask for the staff report, please.
Yep. Let's see if Wendy can hear us.
Thank you, Chair Mar.
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi. I can. Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Thank you, Chair Mar and This is an application for Walt Wines to install some new landscaping First Street West. The property is located just north of the plaza. The site is developed with the wine and tasting, and it is surrounded on the north by medium density residential area. To the east, there's parking area commercial, and to the west, it's the wine. A planting plan has been provided, including a comprehensive plant list, shrubs, ground cover, and grasses. Water budget calculations prepared to demonstrate compliance with the water efficient landscape ordinance. This landscaping would utilize 8,537 gallons for associated water budget allotment, and staff's recommending this commission approval, and that concludes staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Are there any questions for staff?
Yes. Wendy, I got an email late from Mr. Bohar. Have you seen that? And the points that he
No, I
brings...
have not.
Oh, okay. There's some points that he's bringing up about that particular property in the front, and I was just wondering if those are needed to be considered in the overall picture of our agenda item
Well,
tonight.
is he bringing?
Could you please repeat that, Wendy? We didn't
What
hear you.
point was he bringing up?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's more about the seating out front and the large metal, rusty metal planters, and how those seem to fit into the historic neighborhood. Apparently, he's also conceded that those...
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Is considered a temporary improvement that it could be changed back. Particular building, I don't believe it's a historic structure, but if it is a historic structure, then is considered to be future. So it wouldn't necessarily have a negative impact on any historic.
I'm wondering if everyone on the commission was able to understand, because you're breaking up a little bit. Maybe we could check the connection. I'm wondering if we could just get a
Oh,
better
shoot.
connection.
I'm so sorry.
There's like a delay, Wendy.
I had to call in on the video.
What was that, Wendy?
Call in. Try to call in.
Thank you.
Okay.
Matthew, if it helps, I could read it. I have it on my phone.
I just don't think she'll be able to.
Yeah, she's not
Here, yeah.
connecting to audio.
I think she's trying to call in on her phone
Right.
into Zoom.
So it looks like she's connected right now, but we don't hear her. Can this speak?
Yeah, Wendy, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Are you possibly muted?
To go back to an old-fashioned way and put her on a speakerphone
Right.
with the microphone.
Or have her log out and log back in.
That's another idea.
There she goes.
Well, that didn't work.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
No, yes,
Really
perfect,
good.
perfect.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
It's great, thank you.
Oh my gosh. Accept my sincerest apologies. I heard Commissioner Johnson's question,
Mhm.
and landscaping is considered, you know,
Temporary.
not a permanent change to a building.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't consider the landscaping improvements to negatively impact any potential historic features on the site.
So, may I say something? So if I'm understanding the email correctly, there's a concern that the current seating area is going to be removed in 2023. We haven't even heard from the applicant yet, but that the seating area is going to be removed in 2023. And so there's a concern about how this plan will fit together with that. And then there was also, and we were going to ask for clarification here, the email said that that seating was originally, did not have approval for installation. So we don't know whether,
Okay.
if that's the case or not. So then the person who sent the email is not here tonight, unfortunately. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
All right, so the outdoor seating that is currently there is allowed under the Sonoma Alfresco program. The
Gotcha.
city council ended the
Okay.
parklet program.
Yep.
But the seating on private property can continue until the state ends the state mandated COVID order.
mhm,
This project also went before the planning commission earlier this year for a use permit for a wine tasting business. So currently it operates as a legally non-conforming wine tasting room. It's my understanding that the applicant chose not to implement the approved use permit. So they can continue operating as legally non-conforming. They just can't expand.
okay, that's really helpful, and we do have the applicant here, so I'm sure more will be revealed.
Great.
Are there any other questions from staff?
I have one. There's some reference in this letter to having to regrade once the seating is taken away, but if the seating's not taken away, that's a moot point, right?
To regrade after the seating is taken away?
Yeah, there's
I
some
don't know.
reference to landscaping that they'd have to deal with some of the apparent grade change in the steel retaining wall. Have you seen the letter,
Yeah.
Wendy?
No, I haven't. I'm
I forwarded
sorry.
it to you at your email address. I don't know, you probably have it on your phone. You can access work email.
I don't have access to my email. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Would you like, I can
Outfit.
read it if you like. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay, this is from Mr. James Bohart, 299 First Street West. Dear DHRCP Commissioners, landscape concepts presented for the 381st West are water efficient, attractive, and more fitting to the residential qualities of the main building of former residence. Further, it resembles a professionally designed, very attractive front yard landscaping directly across the street at Altair Wine Tasting Facility. The current landscaping application appears to be compatible with the adjacent historic train district that includes the 13 historic buildings on First Street West that are part of the Sonoma Train District. The exception, the staff report comment, is the apparent grade change in steel retaining wall, unless that's predicated by an unlisted change to the entry walkway that will demand a grading item. Otherwise, that would complement the Altair wine tasting facility landscaping directly across the street. Altair gives the look of a fine residence. All the outdoor seating is in the rear, out of sight, completing the residence look in sync with the rest of the neighborhood to the north. What has gone unnoticed in the staff report is that a 2017 installation of 16 outdoor seats and associated elements was illegal without proper permits. The matter is made very clear by the Planning Commission meeting of August 18th, 2022. Those seats are to be removed the spring of 2023 when the Sonoma COVID emergency rules expire. Existing hedges, planters, and plants are not in compliance with development code specifications. Further, that area of landscaping should be designated and permitted separately without regard to the existing seating. My observations as a concerned neighbor, there was some question whether it was a common process to send out green card notifications to impacted neighborhoods or neighbors prior to the meeting. And then the further comments are, Walt's commercial creep into my historic residential neighborhood. As proposed and existing, this facility does not reflect the context of the adjacent historic train district location and the Sonoma historic overlay. The aforementioned are required by both the development code and the general plan. This application has the potential for complementing and enhancing the entrance to our historic district. And then there's another comment in italics about early 2023 when the northerly 16 seats will be removed. The entire street front area should be cleared and recreated to match the current applicant's landscape plans, minus any retaining walls or grade changes. Continues on to say, in my opinion, the failure to include information about the August 18th, 2022 Planning Commission vote to vacate the seating area upon the state of California COVID exemption expiration is relevant and material to this application. Does the oversight in the staff report undermine the full disclosure and invalidate this application? Our home at 299 First Street West received 2 separate historic preservations of awards from the Sonoma Historic League of Preservation, the Historic Preservation and Society. And since Sonoma is an important interest to my wife, Christine, and me, sincerely, Jim Boar.
Thank you for reading that.
You're
So
welcome.
I would first note that the green cards that we send out to notice neighbors of properties isn't required in this case because it's a landscape plan. If they were doing an addition to a single family residence or building a new residence or demolishing a structure, then it would require to be noticed. I think that it would be good to hear from the applicant. And then of course this commission has discretion over approving or denying the landscape plan itself. But this application is limited to the landscape. It's not proposing any new uses on the site, and it's not a land use application.
Can you provide some further clarity on the seating and the temporary and the parklets again, just for my edification, please?
Sure. So the Alfresca program allowed for the parklets, and it also allowed for additional seating on private property. The city council was clear that they wanted the parklet portion of the program to end at the end of October, but there wasn't clarity on removing the outdoor seating on private property. So the planning director has made a determination that the Alfresca program, including the allowance for outdoor seating on private property, will end when the state mandated COVID order ends, which is expected to end at the end of February.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Are there any other questions for staff? Seeing none, I will ask, is the applicant available? Hi, would you please come and state your name and your business for the record?
Yeah, my name is Michelle Lewis. I'm the tasting room manager at Walt's Wines.
Thank you. Could you please tell us about your project?
Yes, so the project does not include the part of the property that Mr. Bohar wrote you guys about. It's to the left of that. We haven't watered our grass for 2 years because of the drought, And so we would like to do some landscaping that would be drought friendly, as I guess if you could say friendly, but with drought resistant plants as well as rock, and something that will be a much better welcomer to people who are coming down the street as well as coming into the business.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission? Seeing none, I will ask, are there any public comments?
There is one person on Zoom, but there is no hand raised, so not at this time.
None at this time. Thank you. And there are no written comments?
No written comments.
Thank you. I'll close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Let's have Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you, Chair Amar. When I looked at this proposal, it looks very straightforward. And so I'm persuaded to approve. I'm still a little fuzzy on the email that we received, and perhaps that can be solved elsewhere. But the landscape plan that is been suggested looks like it would be a tremendous upgrade. So I'm inclined to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Cormany?
I too looked at landscape plan and felt that, there was all the things you would expect, the drip irrigation and, getting rid of a lawn anywhere is a good thing these days. And so I have no objections to how it was presented. Looks appropriate to me.
Thank you. Vice Chair Johnson?
Thank you, Chair Mar. Yeah, I agree as well. It's the landscape plan looks really nice. It's using much less water, like 85% of what they're allowed to use, so it's conservative. It's conserving water. And as far as the other issues that were brought up by one of the neighbors, I think that is something, as Commissioner Randolph said, can be handled at a different time, because that portion of the property that's being used is being used legally at the moment, and once the restrictions are lifted and they have to move that, then they'll have to come back and figure that other part out. So as I see it, I think what's been presented is perfectly acceptable and will be positive for the property.
Thank you. I see no problems with the landscape plan as presented. I think it will be a nice upgrade. I think that will contribute to the overall neighborhood. The situation with the seating out front, I think we're just slowly getting back to normal in this town. We're kind of scaling things back bit by bit, and I think the neighbors will, they'll see some changes soon, and obviously in 2023. So I think that's slowly kind of resolving, and I always, I appreciate your designs out front, and it's always very welcoming, and it's a really cute little place, and it's nice to sit out front because it's like the best sunshine, right? And I think it brings some, a little bit of hustle bustle to that area. So I think everything is fine by me. If we could have a motion to approve, please.
I'd like to move that we accept the agenda item as presented with the conditions of approval.
I second.
Could we please have a roll call vote?
Yep. Commissioner Cormany,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Vice Chair Johnson,
Aye.
and Chair Marr.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
This motion was approved, and so I think that wraps up our, items for tonight. Do we have any further items for discussion?
I don't. Let's see if Wendy does.
Hi. The only update can you hear me? Yeah. The only update I have is that the interim planning director, Laura Simpson, sends her apologies. She wasn't able to make the meeting tonight, but she will come in January and meet you all.
Thank you. Any issues?
No,
Thank you, Wendy. Do we have any further comments from the commission?
I have a question for Wendy.
Wendy, you're still there?
I am.
Okay. So there's some work going on at the house next to mine. It's the house that's behind the Cottages Inn and Spa that you literally have to drive through their driveway to get to. They have had a big backhoe out the last couple of days. They tore off part of the front of the house, the porch area. They're lining out what looks to be a big either deck area. They've cut a little bit into the porch overhang. And they are, also appears like they may be doing some renovation on the inside as well, or could be. But the most of the work has been tearing out the whole front. So I'm just kind of wondering if they have come in to get if they needed an application to do any of this.
Right. I don't know. I'll certainly look into it and get it back to you.
And I don't think it's
Tell me-
historic, but
Do you know what the address is?
I'm 306 First Street East, and I think it would be 307, maybe 308, because they
Okay.
count the Cottages Inn and Spa, and that one little unit, 304, is next to me. Maybe it's,
I will,
yeah,
I'll look into that tomorrow and I'll get back to you.
okay.
Are there any other comments from the commission? Well, I think that'll do it then. So I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:30.